I got a review copy for Baldurs Gate 3 and I hate myself for it. I wish I had bought this game. Not just that, I wish I had bought the glorious, unfortunately sold out, collector's edition. I spent over 100 hours in this true masterpiece in under 2 weeks. I have not gone outside unless it's been with my Steam Deck whilst playing it. I doubt my family thinks I'm alive at this point. I have never felt any sort of moral dilemma surrounding taking review copies before, but I genuinely feel like I scammed the developers here by taking one. A seemingly near impossible situation given the state of AAA gaming right now. It's a good thing, however, that this is a AA game, so revolutionary. It has numerous AAA publishers in panic mode, along with almost beating out Hogwarts Legacy for the spot of Steam's 2023 top player count, something that will be inevitably beaten by CSGO 2's launch. That is still happening, right Valve? Right? A game so detailed I saved scum to Galore just to see what I could or couldn't do. There were barely any scenarios of which I was unable to perform. If your ice storm ever melts, then simply electrify the water. Got a girl trapped in a flaming cage you're trying to save from an evil hag? Stop thinking of this like a video game and just throw some water at it to distinguish the word. Have you stumbled across a trapped dwarf in a cloud of poisonous flammable plants who's about to get blown up Oppenheimer style? Don't worry, jump into the middle, subsequently avoiding setting off the plants as they react to movement, and throw a bottle of water onto the torch to put it out and save his life.
Why didn't I think of that?
So that you can later return his memories to him, in turn reverting the man back into a wife beater.
She'll learn her place again, won't you, love? Like the good old days.
But saving him from slavery after his wife stole his memories to turn him into a mule. Need to find the entrance to an area but can't find it after a few hours of searching. Quit looking because there's no need for direct access. Simply find an alternative route from your local environment. This is a game full of not only an unprecedented amount of impactful choices but also mind flayers. I know, how unoriginal. I can't believe they so brazenly steal the Stranger Things villain like that. And my god, is the narrative full to the brim of genuine choices. Not that Ubisoft pseudo RPG horseshit. Yes, I'm looking at you, bloatware. Sorry, AC Valhalla.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Every single decision you make in this game matters, and I mean it. One of the early decisions you'll get to make is whether or not to stand and fight, with a bunch of druids fighting back against a colonizing cult. Me personally, I betrayed them. After all,
I did warn you not to trust me.
yeah, so that was a lie. I actually did it to bang the sexy purple lady. There was no tactical decision whatsoever, despite the fact defending the druids would obviously be disadvantageous. I was simply horny, as the developers intended. I committed, albeit minor, genocide against the druids. Not just the men, but the women and children too. My risk in this game is frankly immaculate and unparalleled. I managed to bang a goddamn mind flayer. Yeah, you heard me. I made love to some disgusting tentacle freak. Not only that, I got an achievement on Steam for it, which is definitely not pinned to my profile right now. In fact, outside of Minthara, that's the only character I banged despite my character seemingly being married to Lae'zel. For clarification, I have not slept with a bear despite this being the bear sex game. After all, I fucking killed all the druids, and then their leader who attempted to assassinate me in my camp because of it. Nor did I romance the tall demon mommy. I killed her on sight as well. If you do happen to romance her, then you will hear some pretty spicy dialogue to say the very least.
I like her. She looks like she could throw me over her shoulder and carry me to safety. Should the need arise.
But don't fret, you won't have to work hard to romance every character. The 4 main origin characters being Lae'zel, who simply uses you for fun time with no romantic connection, until you inevitably, like I did, turn her against her god and get her to fall in love with you, inevitably confessing her love for you by beating the shit out of you. A perfectly normal thing to do. When it comes to Shadowheart, well, the name says enough. That's basically her character until you again turn her against her god. Bear in mind, this may not even happen in your playthroughs, since it's purely dependent on whether or not you make certain decisions of which I won't spoil, since those are what actually matter here. So long as you are Knuff, you can romance practically any character. Now Gale, I fucking hate Gale. He is a seriously rapey guy who desperately tries to trick you into doing the deed by inviting you to see a magic trick. Spoiler alert, a bunny doesn't come out of the hat. Even worse, despite the game featuring no microtransactions, this fucker has basically got a monthly subscription fee attached to him until you maybe get rid of it in Act 1. If you fail to let the bastard eat magical items or leave him dead like I did because you also found him insufferably rapey, he will blow up the entire world. He is by far my least favorite character, and finally but not least, we have Astarion.
Gale can be very annoying.
A supposedly sexy vampire who is definitely designed for the female gaze. I as a man, however, find him quite uncomfortable to be around, so I killed him. If you're into this, man, you probably need therapy, and this is coming from someone who slept with a Mind Flayer and Minthara during their playthrough. As you gain companions during your extensive time with Baldurs Gate 3, they automatically level to whatever heights you have already accomplished, a feature that makes sure all of your playable characters are on equal footing, and none feel obsolete apart from Gale. He seems to purely exist to be nothing more than a nuisance. And for you horny little bastards watching this video, here's a fun fact. You can romance multiple characters at the same time if they're okay with that, such as Karlach or Shadowheart in Act 1. In Act 2, things get a little more complicated. It is safe to say that Baldurs Gate 3 is the definitive dating simulator though. In my first playthrough specifically, I never gained quite a few possible companions due to my choices, those being Will, Halsin, and Karlach. All three of them didn't join my folly of outcasts for a fair reason. I killed them. But outside of the sex, not that any of you actually care about anything else, the most impressive situation I've seen the game handle is when I brutally executed a group of cultist slavers whilst their leader was trapped under rubble. I freed their leader afterwards, and Baldurs Gate did not break nor not know what to do. It gave me a specific dialogue path only available via this route, where I was able to talk my way out of it thanks to the Dungeons and Dragons aspects. Of course, the most significant feature from that is the karmic dice option, which finally gives justification to the gambler's fallacy, as it adjusts the game's randomized dice rolls to be more favorable or less favorable depending on how poorly your previous rolls were. I've seen a few complain about this, and I frankly don't understand that. If you don't like the karmic dice, just turn it off. It merely gives you the same experience as you would with a fair dungeon master. Baldurs Gate 3 as a whole brings the analog Dungeons and Dragons experience perfectly to the digital world, something that I want to make extremely clear is not a small task. The way they've done it here is by having the turn-based combat not be clogged up by visible dice rolls. In place of that, they do them in the background whilst notifying players of their percentage chance of the action succeeding. If you're outside of combat, your chances of throwing Gale off a cliff face increase dramatically, especially if you use the typical D&D abilities everyone knows and loves, like the Eldritch Blast, to more impressive and unique powers gained via consuming tadpoles, aka illithid powers. Those are extremely powerful to the point where it would be rather foolish to not consume extra tadpoles to gain more. This becomes increasingly apparent later in the game when you're offered even more powerful variations of them, and can even unlock AoE abilities which allow your party members to cast drastically higher numbers of attacks per turn, and even turn yourself into a glorious displacer alongside your standard progression systems. Despite this, your characters may still suffer the greatest pain imaginable during combat, slipping over and breaking your femur. If you're worried about the turn-based combat, don't be. Steam's refund system exists for a reason, and please take advantage of it. I myself usually hate turn-based titles, but I couldn't have fallen in love with Baldurs Gate 3 harder. After all, I put over 100 hours in the span of under 2 weeks, and I'm currently sitting at 138 hours making this video. Not to mention the majority of the game isn't always spent in combat, it's spent exploring and interacting with the most oddly intriguing characters around. During that time with the game, I have unusually made quite a few characters kill themselves through mind control. In my defense, it was clearly a mere necessity. If you also happen to be worried about the kind of, but not really, isometric camera point of view, don't be. Just plug in a controller and you'll have the game automatically adjust everything to be more friendly to the average consumer. Just expect combat to be considerably slower due to those wheels being the only poorly thought out aspect of Baldur's Gate 3 in my opinion. And when it comes to boss fights, they are phenomenal. You'll struggle to find a similar game with superior bosses. Each one is mechanically unique to at least some degree. The first boss you encounter requires you to superheat their metal body with lava and then crush their body with a forge hammer. Another boss fight, slight spoiler here, against Raphael comes with totems you're required to obliterate before taking him on as you listen to some of the finest music ever produced for a video game.
Hell has its laws. Hell, effect and the cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, for now down here come the claws.
However, outside of the combat, they bring the D&D attribute-based decisions into the mix with their dialogue options. These dice rolls influence your version of the game's narrative, along with most situations with multiple paths following from them, such as my friendly interactions with squirrels. And earlier when I said every choice matters, I meant it. Because during dialogue/dice rolls you'll be given unique dialogue paths as well as unique buffs that eventually stack as you progress based on your classes and whatever attributes you assign to your character. If you do not like this, the game can still be enjoyed. Simply save before rolling and reload when you don't get the decision you want, aka be a safe scummer like me, and let's be honest here, like most players. By subtly separating these aspects of Dungeons and Dragons, Larian has managed to create what can only be described as a masterful translation of the board game to the digital world in a way we all know no AAA studio could. I'm looking at you, modern BioWare. If I have somehow yet to convince you to play this glorious masterpiece, then please listen to the vital information I am about to provide. You can throw children. But what's ultimately the most important aspect of an RPG is whether or not your choices actually matter, and as I have endlessly stated in this video, in Baldur's Gate 3 they truly do. You don't just have a few ending variations in this game like you would Fallout 4, you have 17,000. I know that sounds bad, in reality though, the game's motion capture, facial animations along with essentially every aspect of this game are of bewilderingly tremendous quality. There is no aspect of Baldur's Gate 3 which has felt underwhelming to me personally outside of character creation. It feels like the absolute bare minimum offering when discovering physical alterations. There's no facial adjustments, there's no separation between facial hair and hair color, some of the skin colors do not match the preview tone shown before clicking on them, and there are undeniably nowhere near enough options for what most would consider a stereotypical looking male character hair-wise. There's also oddly no way to change the muscles or really any physical attributes outside of the four main options you are forced to choose from. Those being, do you want to be tall or short as a man or a woman? No height slider, no muscle slider, and are you seriously trying to convince me that every character should have a six-pack? There is simply not a chance in hell that Galore works out. Even the maturity slider is dreadfully bland. Sure, there are 4 dick options and 3 vagina options, but I really don't give a shit, since they're not even ever shown in the game. Sure, the vitiligo option is a great feature, but it's hindered massively by the lack of modern, physical RPG customization here. I was hoping to see far more variety as well, as the options here, when it comes to the physical stuff, comes across as the literal bare minimum for some races, and as a great offering for others. I would have liked to see a bit more variety myself per race plus sub-race, although that didn't stop me spending 3 hours in an attempt to create a young Geralt of Rivia, and overall the main theory I have as to why it appears to be so underwhelming on a surface level is due to all of the great aspects of character creation being essentially hidden. If you start off as a specific race, you'll find things like racial discrimination from NPCs. That stuff is brilliant, I love it. It's just about the only case where racism is cool. I just wish we could have gotten much better physical editing options. During character creation, when I was starting my second playthrough, I realized you could actually just select and as such play as some of the origin characters if you don't want to make your own. I somehow wasn't aware of this before. It's certainly a cool feature for those of you who don't want to spend numerous hours crafting the perfect crisp pie recreation, since your choices here and everywhere both directly as well as indirectly affect the game world, whether it be turning a beautiful piece of land into a desolate vile swamp due to your confrontation of an evil hag or merely items you find. Everything affects everything else. Whilst collecting the blood of Lathander, I had had a sentient amulet equipped containing a cursed monk, who's directly related to this ancient religion. Rather than the game ignoring this correlation like most would, the cursed monk actually had a voice line attached to this discovery. This is by no means a one-off situation either. You will have non-stop interactions similar to this throughout your 75 to 100 hour playthrough of straight glory. Hell, at one point I managed to accidentally stumble across an underwater prison, of which I totally didn't cause the implosion of. One of the most important decisions when creating your character is whether or not you're going to choose the Dark Urge backstory. If you do choose it, your character is tied incredibly close to the main storyline in a way that simply doesn't happen otherwise. It adds a whole other level of narrative depth and moral complexity to the game. At one point I was given an incredibly difficult decision. Do I want to kill this character to please my Dark Urge, or do I want to risk it becoming uncontrollable later, resulting in the inevitable saves coming to save one of your beloved companions? Not you, Gale. I wish I could have killed you during this segment instead. On a normal save, you will certainly be less inclined to save scum later in the game, as you will rack up those bonuses I discussed earlier, allowing you to essentially get free passes due to the size of them at the end of the game. In terms of the path you should choose as a beginner, I'd avoid the Dark Urge. Get used to the systems before going down that rabbit hole. The reason being is there are some unavoidable critical moments caused by it, and an extra level of moral complexity which, albeit do make the game 1000 times better, but also may potentially cause frustration. I, as someone who has never played D&D, adored my time with the Dark Urge path, and I believe it is the best experience thanks to the added complexity of the world it gives you. For the vast majority of new players, however, just start off with your typical white straight male knight or wizard we all know you're going to default to creating, and you'll have a blast. Now, I've been fairly avoiding critical spoilers outside of Act 1 and a bit of Act 2 for the entirety of this video, but this is where I no longer care, because frankly, even if I spoil stuff, you will likely never have even come across the same situations in the exact same way. For example, in Act 3 there is a hidden location where you can obtain 2 dead dogs. Those 2 unfortunate souls can seemingly be revived and brought into your folly of outcasts. You can also find the parents of Gortash, one of the main 3 villains introduced in Act 2, and murder them for 2 tadpoles, which inhabit their poor souls, allowing you to gain an extra 2 illicit abilities. I can almost guarantee no one else has found this yet, because why on earth would they? It is an unbelievably small, insignificant aspect in the grand scheme of things that just adds a beautiful layer of world building most will never experience, aka the best aspect of any true RPG. And based on your decisions, you can change entire characters. Shadowheart and Lae'zel in particular saw drastic personality shifts and brutal character arcs that snapped them back into reality in my playthrough, both of them disavowing their gods and changing for the better. Shadowheart's change is more apparent as it comes as not just a personality shift, but also a makeover. Lae'zel's character shift is handled beautifully if your choices cause her to change for the better via some of the best facial animation / motion capture in an RPG I have ever come across. There is a wildly distinct body language shift in Lae'zel, and somehow despite the near endless number of endings, Larian has maintained an incredible level of quality control with it. I managed to get Shadowheart to, instead of killing Lae'zel, to actually tolerate her later in the game. On the other hand of the bittersweet relationships you'll have with Lae'zel and Shadowheart, you can end up with one particularly hilarious scenario in Act 3 where you sell your body to a succubus who works for Raphael, a devil who I chose to kill and succeeded in doing so. This results in your character randomly feeling quite distinct pleasures whilst you explore the world, as she uses your body.
Indeed. I wouldn't dare deny you your self-pleasures. But do clean up after yourself.
I will say I have encountered a few major bugs. By a few, I really mean only 2. One was when I fought Raphael, all the NPCs, allies, as well as enemies alike, both just stopped working. I think it had something to do with the ice casting. Admittedly though, I don't really know what caused it, and I haven't heard of it happening to anyone else. The other bug was right at the end when I was testing to see the different variations to the end I could experience purely with the Dark Urge path, where the character modified models started behaving rather strangely. Besides those two issues, I came across genuinely nothing game breaking. The worst thing that would happen on occasion is my custom character not being able to split items in my camp, and I absolutely cannot wait to start another playthrough where I copy and paste Chris Pine's character from the Dungeons & Dragons movie that in no way deserved to flop as hard as it did. Go watch it right fucking now, or I will get Lae'zel to commit heinous crimes against your mortal soul. Although now I've said that out loud, I realize it's probably not much of a threat and more of a desire for you cretins. Just go watch the film. So with all that being said, we've finally come to the end of my review for Baldur's Gate 3, the greatest RPG ever made, and I will leave you with my marvelously bittersweet ending to 104 hours of playtime.
Whatever self you possess is quickly ebbing away. Your friends and enemies alike are ripe for manipulation. And if not manipulation, then consumption. Soon you will not be able to trust yourself at all. You will be a monstrosity beyond redemption. Or not. Perhaps you are unique among illithid kind. Perhaps you will retain enough of who you are to resist your nature. A rogue mind flayer. Like the Emperor, the risk is certainly yours to take. Will you?
What are you doing? No!
You've butchered so many before. Each death a gift to your father. This one, you will take from him. This one is just for you.